Welcome back to the All Things Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Julian. I'm here with my co-host, co-producer, Small Town EP. What up,
Yo,
Small
what's
Town
up? What's up?
EP?
What's up? What's up? What's up? Live from Small Town Studios. You know the vibes, bro.
Yeah, I think that's the first time I called you Small Town EP in a
That
minute.
shit sounded weird.
Probably since I met you, but we still new to this streaming live on YouTube. So until all the nerves and kinks, you know what I'm saying, get out, then we just gonna have to deal with things the way they are. For now, you Small Town EP. I'm Julian. Um, man, I'm so excited with this March Madness. You know, we got upsets already. Duke won. MLB season starts in 2 weeks. Steph Curry tells CP3 it ain't 2014 no more. You know, so it's just a bunch. It's a bunch going on right now. So we got a fun show. Shout out to Less Risk More Profit.
Gang.
First Five Gods. They're gonna make you a
Ooh.
lot of money this season. So tap in with LRMP.
Yes,
That's
sir.
Small Town EP himself, Geo, Antoine. Tap in with them boys. Get the parlays. Get the picks. They're gonna put money in your pockets. You're gonna put a little money in their pockets, but they're gonna put a lot
A
more money in
lot of
your
money.
pockets. So
Hey, shout out
shout
to
out
that
to
boy
them boys.
Antoine too. He got he's doing his comedy thing. He got another show in a couple weeks. Another little gig. So definitely about to pull up to
Yes,
that. Shout out
sir.
to that boy.
Damn, bro. I ain't gonna lie. Like, not I wish I was in Florida because I definitely appreciate the fact that I'm here in New York City and I love being here in New York City. And I wouldn't trade it for now. However, I wish I could always see my dog, do his thing. He's hilarious on the stage, and anytime I get to see my boy Antoine rocking out, man, that shit is a fun time. We got hella pictures on in the spot. Me, you, me, Sal, me, Dre, me, Chuck. You know what I'm saying? Me, Sal. I said Sal already, but I really be with Sal. That's my partner. Shout out to Sal, bro. Him in heaven. Shout out to him in heaven. About to have their second baby, Bryce. Bryce is on the way. I think he's due April 21st. My birthday's the 24th. You know what I'm saying? He's gonna
Wow.
be a Taurus. So blessings to them and the Saragusa family.
Beautiful
We love
things.
y'all. So can't wait for that. My sister obviously and her man are having their first kid in July. Should be like around the 1st of July. So obviously super excited for that. For now, Word the Future March Madness is here.
Hey, real quick, real
And
quick, real
mm-hmm,
quick, because we
you gave
can't
me
shout
you gave
out.
me a chance to sip.
Perfect. We can't shout out all the homies and not shout out that boy Ray. Congratulations, him and his new fiance. Cause it's not my
That's a
girl
fact.
no more. It's your
That's a fact.
fiance.
That's a fact.
So shout out to the beautiful new beginning that they're having. But yes, word to that boy Future.
Yeah, you see
March
it.
Madness is
You see,
here.
throw it up. Throw it up one more time.
We still
And
thinking
and
Coach
hold it
K.
real quick if you can. If you can't hold it, we putting up. Thank you, Coach K. But for now, what I want to let y'all know is shout out to Coach Shire. Listen, you can put it down. John Shire, man, like he comes in his first year. There's ups and downs in this Duke season, and there were some downs where it was like, yo, this is ugly. Like this season doesn't look promising at all. I don't know if we're gonna even be ranked at all throughout the season, which the ranking didn't really much matter. However, we finished the season on a run. I think it was like a 9-0 run. We finished the season, and the defense started clicking, the shots started falling, and we go all the way, run the table, and win the ACC. Like, I mean, what you talking about? You know what I'm saying? Like, we won the ACC. By the way, if I don't stare directly into this flashing light where it looks like I'm looking at y'all right now, it's because I'm staring into, you know what I'm saying, this flash and it's messing
Word,
with my eyes.
word,
So
word.
if I'm looking down or if I'm looking here or there, just know that my focus is 100% right here in this podcast. It's just this goddamn light.
I'm not gonna lie.
Anyways,
I got the Bucks game going right now, so I'm definitely looking back and forth.
we got a couple things going on in sports. We'll update a couple other games around the league because we got Brooklyn versus Sacramento. I know that's an interesting one, being as though Sacramento is one of the hottest teams in the league. However, they don't play too well on back-to-backs. So I'm gonna be interested to see how they are with, say, 12 games left in the season, knowing that they need to make that final push. If you can bring up the standings for the East and West for me in the NBA, we'll get to that a little later, but I definitely wanted to tap in with that. But let's just backtrack. Duke, a lot of people say, and it's documented, it's factual, it's statistically proven that the 12 seed has a lot of success in the first round and in the tournament in general, right? A lot of people in our Locksmith group chat, if you're in the Locksmith group chat, shout out to you. Shout out to especially Nate, Perk, the fella. You know, it's
Word up.
always love. That's my brother from another. And shout out to Josh and Daniel, yo. Them boys be having me in the chat laughing all the time. We're going to get Josh and Daniel and Nate fella on the podcast soon enough. We got to figure out the setup of how we could do that multi-cam with the 3 different cameras or so for guests. Once we figure out all that shit, we're going to have all them boys on here talking mad shit, debating all that. Because if y'all, I post the funny shit from the group chat as far as like the explicitly inappropriate stuff they be saying on Instagram, so you can follow me and see that. But as far as the sports conversations, we be having some good debates and topics, and you know, we be getting into it as a collective, and it'd be a lot of sparring in there, verbal sparring. So shout out to them. In the group chat, one of the discussions today was Duke probably going to lose to Oral Roberts. I mean, I know me and you didn't. If you listen to the Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max podcast, shout out to them boys, chomping at the bit. I don't, you know, that's one of them little inside jokes they got there, but champing at the bit, whatever the case is, we didn't bite it. 74-51. What was a little alarming was that we only had 2 players in double figures, being Jeremy Roach and Whitehead, right? And it's a little alarming when I was expecting a big game from Kyle Filipowski. Went 2 for 7, 0 for 1 from 3, but he did have, you know, 9 rebounds and helped us out there. But this game started off, you know, Duke hot out the gate. Or Roberts couldn't find the bottom of the net. We started off on like a 13-0 run, and by midway through the first half, it was like 28-10, and Oral Roberts couldn't shoot for anything. And I think they shot it at 30%, 25 from 3 tonight. Like, that tells you everything you need to know. You're not going to win a basketball game like that. And we shot it at 48%, which isn't even great, and 37.5 from 3, which is below average. But at the end of the day, when you're playing a team that shoots 19 of 63 from the field and 8 of 32 from 3, you don't really have to make all your shots. No. So I obviously this was a breeze. I didn't expect this to be a great game, much like maybe others did. Like, shout out to the U. Y'all already know I'm repping the U because Miami football runs deep in this blood. I'm a Duke basketball fan. I don't have to explain myself. You know, the real ones know the vibes, but I'm always rep Miami, even basketball. If Duke's playing Miami, I'm going with Duke. But if Miami's playing anybody else, you know, I'm rocking with the Hurricanes. And they play Drake, not the rapper, but the school.
Drake.
They play Drake. That's another 5-12 seed, which is a little weird because I thought Miami played well enough to not have to be a 5 seed. Like, I thought they'd maybe be a 4-3 seed this year in the bracket. But hey, you can't have it your way. That's going to be an interesting matchup. However, I do think Miami, it's interesting because it's a 5-12. That's really where the interest comes in from. But as far as the game, I think, one, Miami coming off that loss versus Duke in the ACC championship, they're hungry. And I think they're going to use Drake as, you know, as a propeller to the next round. So shout out to Drake and them boys that are going to try to compete, but Miami's coming for you guys. So
I do think I'll say that at times this year, Miami, while they've been able to score, I feel like they were also kind of giving up points. They give up points in transition quite a bit, as just as much as they get the points in transition. Drake is one of those teams that plays both sides of the floor, plays offense, plays defense. So the thing with Miami, I feel like that could be a challenge. I don't think, but I think that it could be a challenge. Is, you know, it happens some nights. If you have one of those off nights and, you know, you're in a funk and you know what I mean, the rhythm's not really falling, and the shots aren't falling, Drake could keep it close and stay in there. But like you said, I do see Miami coming out with the dub in that game. It should be a good game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout.
I think one of the key factors is the fact that Miami just lost to Duke, and you know, their season, they can't come out flat. They can't come out unenergetic or anything like that. Like Coach L has them boys rolling right now. They played really great in the tournament, and they played a really good Duke team who found their way. You know what I'm saying? Found their way late in the season in the semifinal. I will say I did say in the championship. It was in the semifinal. Duke went on to win the championship versus Virginia on Saturday night. So let's talk about Virginia, right? Like that's a team that got upset today as a what was Virginia, a 4 seed or a 2 seed?
uh, the 4 seed, a 4 seed. Let me verify.
That was a 4-13. Can we get some confirmation?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, they were a 4 seed
They're a
because
4 seed.
Arizona, who also went down, lost to Princeton, and we'll talk about that one. But let's get into this Furman versus Virginia. I'll be honest with you, EP. I didn't know Furman University until today. I'd never heard of them.
Really? The only reason I
Yeah.
know who they are is because they have the
Well,
same
you bet
mascot
college
as
basketball,
that
fam.
too.
Let's be real.
That too. But they have the same mascot that my high school alma mater has. So that's like one connection I have with
The
them.
Paladins, they're a Paladin.
The
What
Paladins.
is a Paladin? What is a Paladin? Nobody. I'm from Broward County. I went to Piper High School. Shout out to the Bengals. I know, I know the plantation. Fuck that. I know the Taravella Trojans. You know what I'm saying? I heard of the Coral Springs. I think shit. You know what? Maybe I don't know as much high school logos and mascots as I thought I did. I know what the Piper Bengals are. It's a normal mascot, but what is a Paladin or Paladin? What is that?
It's the knight on the horse that they joust. I think it's what it's called.
Ah,
And
jousters.
they got the
Ah,
you know
okay,
the
okay.
tool. They
So
got
it's
the
some,
tool.
yeah, yeah, yeah. They got the little.
Yeah, yeah, you know.
It's not quite a broomstick, but it's not quite a sword. I got you. One of those. Shout out to the Paladin. Is it a Paladin or a
It's
Paladin? I
paladins.
don't
It's
want to.
paladins.
It's a Paladin. All right. So shout out to the Furman Paladins who beat the Virginia Cavaliers. I'm never going to be a fan of Virginia, being as though they're an fellow ACC team,
Ugh.
um, especially their football team. Like I go to Hurricanes games frequently, and they give us a tough time. These past few years, and it's just pretty frustrating. Their basketball team has been good. They're well coached. They've had some good guys in and out of that school. However, man, we've seen them go down in the first round before. This isn't the first time we've
It's
seen
not.
this, and it's a sad thing. As well coached, like I said, as they are, they shot at a 16% clip from three. Like, talk about inefficiency. You play
That's really
somebody
where
that
they
shoots, yeah, you play somebody that shoots 35%, 10 to 28, and you go out there and shit the bed 2 for 12. First of all, you're only putting up 12 3-pointers in college basketball in 2023. That's not a good recipe, but um, they couldn't find the bottom of the net from three, and their leading scorer had 15 points. Like, how much can you do with that, right? You got to give a lot of credit where credit's due with the really, really, really good defense that Furman was playing
absolutely.
all day, all day,
Hmm.
especially late. We saw how the game ended. It was a turnover, but it was a choke job. It was a choke job, and whether you want to blame it on coaching or whether you want to blame it on the player who threw the ball away, somebody in that situation has to understand you have a timeout,
Hmm.
right? You have to know at that situation you're trying to dribble the timeout, you're trying to not turn the ball over so you can go to the free throw line and knock down two daggers. The
Attention to
message
detail.
has to be relayed. Yeah, the message has to be relayed. And that's nothing more than choking. That's nothing more than pressure getting to you and the moment being too big, frankly. So shout out to Furman. I don't believe they're going to go much further than this. I think that the buck stops now.
Yeah.
They can celebrate all they want. It'll be a fun celebration. And if I was them, shit, I'd celebrate until the next game because that's probably where the end of the road is. But
Yeah.
you got to give credit where it's due. They were the better team today. And UVA, you got to be ashamed of yourself. You got to be goddamn ashamed of yourself.
I mean, flat out, like you said, heart, effort. Like, who wanted it more?
Yeah.
And it was definitely Furman today. I mean, four starters in double digits to Virginia's two starters in double digits. They did have Virginia did have McNeely come off the bench and drop 12 for them, but I mean,
Yeah.
12, 4. and oh, I mean, I appreciate it. It's a good effort. But it really wasn't enough. Like you said,
And
Furman's
shout out to my bad. Go ahead. Go
no, yeah,
ahead.
like you said, Furman's defense, like 4 steals. I think it's 3 blocks. Like it's really bodies on the floor, boots on the ground. Like who wants it more, bro? We're in the dance. You're either gonna
Yeah.
win or you're gonna go sit
Yeah.
down in the corner over there. So
Yeah. I don't want to mispronounce his name, but I might. JP Pegas. That game went in 3. That was cold. It's a cold shot.
cold.
That he didn't think about it. He got it was literally boom, turnover, errant pass, turnover, pass to the 3-point wing. I'm letting this fly, coach. I'm letting it fly, coach.
Mm-hmm.
And he put the team on his back with that shot right there. He put the school on his back. And he's like, yo, we're gonna win this game right now.
It
Rose
looked
up.
like last week in practice they put 2 seconds on the scoreboard. You know what I'm saying? It was like
Looked like they went through
we're
that,
running
right?
this play until you don't miss. That's what we're doing right now.
That's a fact. That's a fact. No cap. So shout out to Furman, man. They got the big win over UVA. That was the first upset. And then right after that, we get a bigger upset with a 2 seed. So we got a 4 seed and a 2 seed in the first day of March Madness. This is exactly why they call it March Madness. You never know what you're going to expect. You're going to see the big teams going down. You're going to see some Cinderella stories. And on the first day of March Madness, UVA done lost. So did
Oh man, hold
Arizona,
up.
but Oral Roberts couldn't beat Duke. 5 seed took a L. I mean, took the dub.
There
I
it
almost
is.
had it. But the Princeton Tigers put out a big fight against Arizona, and those Wildcats ain't wasn't much wild about them tonight. Because if we're
At
being
all.
completely honest, you could say all you want about how Princeton has had a good season, and
In the
for
Ivy
their
League.
standard.
Yeah.
Thank you. For their standard, you could say that they came out and fought hard tonight and were knocking down shots. Listen, there's no reason this should have been a close game. Okay? And I know you know that. I'm just stating the obvious, right? And when their leading scorer has 15 points, somebody got some splaining to do, right? Somebody got some splaining to do. And man, shout out to I forget his first name. I'm gonna get it right. Caden Pierce. This is the brother of Alec Pierce, Colts wide receiver. He was a rookie
Oh
last year. He's
wow, I
coming
didn't know
into
that.
second year. Colts wide receiver brother, Caden Pierce. He was the Ivy League Rookie of the Year. So shout out to him. He came in today, 6 points, only shot 2 of 6, 0 for 4 from 3, but he had 8 rebounds. And he helped his team win. He helped his team to a win. You look at Arizona. They had only 2 guys in double figures, shot the ball. What is comparative to the UVA team? They shot the ball 18% from 3. And if you can't make the 3-pointer, you're not going to win games.
Hey, the
You're
crazy
not.
thing about that is that Princeton shot 16% as well. So it's like I think what really made the difference, in my opinion, it's gonna be kind of a small stat, but in the grand scheme of things, it's a big stat. You got out rebounded by 2 on the offensive glass, like 2 extra rebounds and a 4-point loss. It sounds like those offensive rebounds might have lost you the game right there, man. Crash
That's
the
true.
boards, focus up.
Very true. And it goes back to what I said. This game should not have been a game. And I'm not trying to downplay Princeton. I'm not trying to disrespect or anything like that. But I mean, they make these brackets, right? It's a 15-2 seed. Like, we're not talking about the 5-12. We're not talking about the 8-9. We're not talking about the 3. We're talking about the 2-15. This is arguably one of the worst teams in the 64 that made it. And you lost by 4. So Texas is up big right now.
An Ivy League team, man. All they do is physics. They don't even play basketball, bro.
Lost to a bunch of nerds. Nah. Somebody had to say it. Auburn won in a close one. It was a close one. Iowa, they tried to fight, but Auburn upset Iowa essentially, being as though it was an 8-9 matchup. But I mean, I don't necessarily call that the upset, because when it's 8-9, hey, may the better team win today. This is not 15-2. Hey, the better team won today. No, 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 no. Get that shit out of here. You guys blew the chance. This
Yeah.
was a solid game, 83-75. So you got to give credit where it's due. And Auburn moves on.
Speaking of 8-9, Maryland over West Virginia today. That was a hell of a game this afternoon. Um,
I didn't catch that one. They beat them.
yeah, they did beat them by 2 points. That was a hell of a
So
game. Um,
I was watching the Pat McAfee show, and Pat McAfee's
he's a
a
Terp,
West
right?
Virginia
Oh,
guy.
no,
Yeah,
yeah, he's
no,
a
no, no. He's
Mountaineer.
a
He's a
West Virginia.
Mountaineer.
He's a Mountaineer, and he was talking shit. He was talking that shit. He's like, he had Adam Jones. Shout out to Pac Man. He had Adam Jones on the show, and he was just like, when we beat the Turtles, the Turtles. I got some friends that are alumni from the Turtles, and He was talking all his shit, and look at that. He's like, because they're not Press Virginia no more. They used to be Press
West
Virginia. And
Virginia,
Bob
yeah.
Huggins, shout out to Bob Huggins. He's a great coach and he's a Hall of Fame coach. And he typically will have his guys ready for the first round matchup. I mean, I didn't that one. I would have got to it here. I would have looked at it and seen the score, but I'm glad you brought that up because that's yikes. Yikes. Hey, can't win them all. Tennessee and Louisiana just kicked off. That's a 4-13 seed. That one literally just kicked off, so it's a 7-4 game. Kansas beat Howard. It was close at one point. And I wanted to take a moment to wish well to Coach Self. Bill Self had to miss this game with like a heart condition or so. He was hospitalized, so hopefully he can rejoin the team for the next round. If not, the round after. I think Kansas on their behalf, they'll be fine without him for now. Before the Sweet 16 at least.
Facts.
They're well equipped to win. They can win it all this year if we're being honest. But the most important thing is that Coach Self gets the best health he can and get back on the sideline because it's heartbreaking to not be out there with your team. So
I got them in my
shout out
final
to Coach
four,
Self.
but we'll get into that in a little bit.
I want to hear yours. I didn't really get one, so
that's cool. That's cool.
I want to hear yours. I want to hear yours, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll get into
Go ahead.
Well, I see real quick. Of course, the Dukies. We'll just get that off right off the bat. We'll just, I do have UConn in my final four. I do have Kansas in my final four, and I do have Texas in my final four. Yes, I think UConn's a sleeper.
So, all right, let me hold on, because clearly I don't know what round you have Purdue losing or getting upset in, but I do know that you have some choice words for Purdue and the Boilermakers over there that Drew Brees wouldn't appreciate, I will say. But nonetheless, I want to see UConn's. Okay, so they're in the West.
They're in the West.
Which, okay, so you got them. That's interesting. So wait, go with your. Can you go with your final four again?
So I got Kansas, Duke, and I have Kansas, Duke, UConn, and I'm gonna make sure I quote this right.
I just have one problem here because I think the math ain't really mathing. I hate to do this. I hate to call you out, but you know what? We got to be honest
please
here.
Do. We gotta. Please do.
Kansas and UConn, if they win all their games, it looks like they would meet in the Sweet 16 or in the Sweet 16. Is that? Yeah, it looks like they'd meet in the Sweet 16. So pick your fucking team, buddy. Who you got? Kansas or UConn? How about that?
Damn, I didn't notice that. So Kansas for sure, without a doubt, coming out of the West.
I was wondering. I'm like UConn. Hey, I'm not hating, but
coming out of the East, I got Duke. Coming out of the South, I got Bama. Sorry, coming out of the South, I got Bama. Maryland's run ends in the second round.
Brandon Miller, man, one of the best players in the country.
And Texas, who's uphandedly with a minute left against Colgate right now.
Okay. So let me see. Hmm. I like Bama winning the South, especially being as though a team like Virginia is gone, Arizona's gone. Like they look like they can run through that one, right? Who's the 3 seed in there? Baylor. Baylor's going to be tough. So Baylor Bama is going to be a tough matchup if it does get to that. But all in all, I do think Bama has had the better season, and uh, they have the guy, right? They have the best player in college basketball, Brandon Miller. So if it comes down to it, I see them taking that. And who do you have winning the East? Who was it?
In the East, let me go back to that.
Who was your
Duke. Duke in the East. Come on,
Duke?
man.
Oh, you do got okay. I didn't think you.
Duke, Kansas,
Okay.
Bama, Texas. Duke, Kansas, Bama, Texas.
Okay. Okay. I like it. Texas is a good one too. Duke, but I mean Duke. The thing about Duke, as much as I want to see it, I gotta see it first. You know what I mean? Like we we haven't necessarily really been battle tested, and that's quite a concern. So I'll leave it there.
I can respect that. I could definitely respect that. That makes total sense.
So do you have any final thoughts, any closing thoughts on the tournament here?
It's gotten off to a wild start. You hate to see it, but you love to see these early upsets because I mean that's what March is all about. Who's dancing and who's dancing the longest. So really just excited to see this Duke, to see John Shire now as a coach, to be honest. I know I sound like like I got my Duke cape on, but it's because I do, feel me? I'm excited to see what John Shire does.
You sound like a fan, bro, and that's what you should. I mean, if at any time in the season you should be fanboyed out, it's when it's one and done, right? Like we can't afford to lose. We don't want to watch our team lose. It's a heartbreaking thing. If you don't know what losing in the tournament feels like,
Oh.
look to the IG post you'll see all day tomorrow where the Utah State cheerleader is crying. And I believe it was her last, I think she's a senior. So
It
it's
has
like
to be. It has to
she
be.
was not
It
expecting
has
to
to
go
be.
home in the first round. And guess what, sweetie? Welcome to the real world. And shout out to my boy, I think it's my boy Jason. He's in the locksmith chat too. Life comes at you fast.
Facts.
And that's
Facts.
the only way to explain losing in the NCAA tournament. Life comes at you fast. We'll pivot off that, and I want to take it to the NFL. Man, we got NFL free agency. The legal tampering period was Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday, and now it's free agency past 4 p.m. All people are allowed to talk to all teams, and Lamar Jackson still don't have a contract. Nobody's put an offer out. So that's something to keep an eye on. It's going to be real interesting whether we see Lamar Jackson play football in 2023. Um, I'll leave that for like another week or so because
Yeah,
I don't want to
facts.
speculate on. We can do that. I like Aaron Rodgers news. I'm so glad that it's not over with, but for the most part, we have a good feeling of where things are going to go, right? The ball is in the Packers' court right now, or should we say field since it's football. The ball is in their field because he says he wants to play for the Jets. They understand that. They know they don't want Aaron Rodgers back as their guy. They want to move on to Jordan Love. There's 58 million reasons why we're to Keyshawn Johnson as far as why they need to get that cap off of their team, right? And right now it's just about working out trade details with the Jets. And um, I think the Jets have a little bit of leverage here in the situation where everybody knows Aaron Rodgers wants to play for the Jets. And the Packers don't care to have him anymore. So the Jets can maybe ask for a little more. And so they're at that period where the deal will get done, I'm sure. But it's a matter of when, not if.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, can we pause real quick? Can we take a step back to like put in perspective that the Jets will have a future Hall of Fame quarterback. Like, this is not something we've seen since what, Vinny Testaverde days, Joe Namath days. Like, and
Yo.
I didn't watch Joe Namath play football. You know what I'm saying? I didn't watch Vinny Testaverde ball out for the Jets like that. Like, I was too young. So to see 12 and Broadway Joe wore 12, right? If correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, yeah, I think
I
you're
don't
right.
know the number situation. I'm not sure if that number is retired in Jets franchise history. I haven't done that research, but that just came to mind. Um, I would imagine if I'm Broadway Joe, or if it's not, I would give the grace to Aaron Rodgers to wear 12. I think he's done enough in his career to deserve that, and he's a future Hall of Famer himself, one of the best at the position we've ever seen. But this is a big thing. We got one of the best players in football going to the New York market, one. Two, playing for one of the worst teams of the last 2 decades.
Who showed a glimmer of light last season.
And a big one, though, a big glimmer. It was a glimmer, but it was a big glimmer. And they weren't healthy all the way. And you got to think, getting their running back, having a second-year Sauce Gardner, a second-year Garrett Wilson, draft picks for this year. They'll lose some with this Aaron Rodgers trade. But they got some pieces on that team, man. They got some talent on that team on the defensive line. They got some corners. It's going to be really interesting to see what Aaron Rodgers can do for the city of New York. And I'm excited, man. I would love to see the Jets in the postseason. Why not? You know what I mean? Like, shake it up. Like, can you guys be better than the Bills? Are the Jets – okay, this is the question, E. Are the Jets the best team in the AFC East, or quote-unquote the team to beat in the AFC East going into the 2023 season, pending or barring no setbacks, Aaron Rodgers becomes a Jet? What do you think?
I would say so. I think this is a lot bigger than people. I feel like a lot of people have been downplaying it. Like, it's just Aaron Rodgers. It might be due to his inconsistency last year. But when you look at the grand scheme of things, if you get a chance to land a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers and you don't do everything in your power to do that, I mean, I think not if, because we already know he wants to go there. They want him.
Right.
The Packers are trying to get rid of him. Um, absolutely. I think they become with a healthy haul, like you just said, running back coming back, Sauce Gardner on the other end. Um, I think it's a toss up between them and honestly Miami in the AFC East.
So why do you say Miami over Buffalo? What puts Miami over Buffalo in your opinion?
The Tyreek and Tua combination, granted, a healthy Tua. But I think that the defense for Miami, obviously, I mean, we'll get into that in a second, but the defense for Miami just, leveled up a bit as well. So I think that this AFC East is a lot closer than people think. But
Oh yeah.
adding Aaron Rodgers to the equation in New York, that's a scary sight right there. He loves to play in the cold already, so it's not like he's changing climate or anything like that. He gets to come down to Miami once a year. Like
Yeah.
it's. I think he's gonna have a blast when he gets there, and I think that him having fun while he's working is going to show in his efficiency and in his play.
So I want to get a couple things. I want to line things up, right? So Aaron Rodgers is a back-to-back MVP winner, right? Not this past year, but the year before and the year before that. His division got tougher this year. And of all teams, the Detroit Lions were the ones to be able to go on the road into Lambeau Field versus this very same Aaron Rodgers, who was healthy, on a Sunday night game. It was like the final game of the season, and they were able to knock the Packers out of playoff contention. And so, one, that leaves a very sour taste in Packers fans' mouth, if I'm not mistaken.
Got
I
to.
do understand that what he's done for your franchise and the quarterback that he's been, you got to appreciate him, right? There's no fooling around with booing him or wishing him the worst or anything like that. It's nothing like that, because you also do have to understand that he is his own man, and he went into the dark, he's come out, and he's realized what he wants to do with his life. It's fair. It's fair. Now, can you argue that he's chasing Brett Favre or doing what Brett Favre did or mimicking Brett Favre? Of course you can. Um, but I think it's going to be very interesting to see the new era of Aaron Rodgers, because what you mentioned was going to work and being happy and playing happy, right? I think in the last few years, or 2 years probably, in Green Bay, he wasn't necessarily on the same page with the organization, right? They haven't been drafting him talent at the wide receiver position specifically. They went and draft ever since the Jordan Love draft, right? They draft
Facts.
Love and they draft his replacement. You're going to feel some type of way. Ever since then, things have been very shaky for them, and the play has been inconsistent. And when I say inconsistent, it's not he's throwing 15 picks a year. Like, Aaron Rodgers doesn't do that, but he's not winning
They're
all
not
the
winning.
games he
Yeah.
needs to. And when I say all the games he needs to, those are NFC championships. You go to back-to-back NFC championships, you lose one on the road, you lose one at home, and then in the final year, you lose the game that gets you in the playoffs. You know, I think Aaron really wants a fresh start, knowing that his division is going to be tough. His division is going to be tough. He got some quarterbacks over there, but guess what? He's Aaron Rodgers.
Yo, come on, man. What did I say in the
Like,
group
let's
chat,
not.
man?
Let's not.
If he says get me LeBron James, you damn right. You better at least call LeBron James.
So let's pivot to there. There was a speculation. I don't think it was true.
I don't think it
He
was
said it
true
wasn't true.
either.
He said it
He
wasn't
said it
true on
wasn't.
Pat McAfee's show. That there was a list he wanted. You got to get Alan Lazard. I want Odell Beckham. I want Mercedes Lewis. They signed Alan Lazard. I'll say that. The Jets did sign him $11 million a year, 4 years, $44 million. They
Attaboy.
got his guy. And shout out to Lazard, and shout out to Rodgers for getting Lazard that deal.
Well deserved.
Of course, but you got to think there is some sort of, if I do come, like, there's
Yeah.
got to be some of that going
Yeah.
on with Aaron Rodgers. Um, that's neither here nor there. I didn't want to spend all the NFL free agency talking about Aaron Rodgers, because Jesus, boy, Aaron Rodgers. They've been talking about Aaron Rodgers for the last 3 weeks, man. And then finally, we've gotten somewhere. Aaron Rodgers has publicly come out and said, shout out to Pat McAfee and the relationship that he and AJ Hawk have with Aaron Rodgers, where every Tuesday he joins the show and he gives these little breaking news or updates and things like that. Like, that's so awesome for a free YouTube show. As great as Pat McAfee's is, like, he's such an inspiration. You know how much I talk about Pat McAfee in his show, a former Colt at that. And I think even if he wasn't a former Colt, I'd be as invested in his show, because he's just that type of personality. He's, captivating. And for 3 hours a day, Monday through Friday, he's going to entertain you with him and Tone Diggs, Darius Butler, like all those guys down there in Indianapolis. So shout out to them. It's an amazing show, but I love the fact that they're able to get the, that other side of people, the warm side of people, the side of people that not everybody can bring out. ESPN reporters, NFL Network reporters that try to just break news and hit you over the head with stuff. It's not always about that. It's about gaining a relationship and developing that and being able to make someone feel comfortable in your presence enough to say, listen, Aaron Rodgers is going to be on the golf course tonight or today, but he's going to talk to us for 25 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's Pat McAfee. So shout out to Pat McAfee. I want to move on and talk about some key additions to some teams here. I want to talk about the Dolphins, because they kind of started this thing off Sunday with the trade for Jalen Ramsey. They traded Hunter Long. I think it was Hunter Long, if his name is right, but he was a tight end that barely played. And a third-round pick for Jalen Ramsey. Like, we're talking about Jalen Ramsey. He's a top 5 corner in this league. He's an all-pro.
Without
He's
a
a
doubt.
Pro Bowler. He was a Pro Bowler last year, and now he's paired up with Xavier Howard. You got Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle on one side, and you got Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey on the other. Practice is going to be fun.
Ah,
Like if I were you, I would go watch training camp at the Miami Gardens facility once or twice. You know what I'm saying?
watch
They got
The
they
Jalen
got
and
sun
Tyreek
covers
battle.
now. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The last
Oh,
time they matched up was at the Pro Bowl, and Jalen Ramsey put a little hit stick on Tyreek Hill there at the end zone. It was a flag football game, and ironically, the only contact that was made was versus two soon to be teammates. So
oh
shout out to the
man.
Dolphins for getting that. They re-signed Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson. I thought this was interesting because I think they could have done better in the run game. So maybe they're looking to the draft. They don't have a first round pick. They forfeited that first round pick in the situation with Brian Flores. Um, we all remember that situation. But maybe they see somebody in this draft that they like. They signed Mostert to a 2-year, $5.6 million deal, 2.2 guaranteed. That's a really good deal. And Jeff Wilson on a 2-year, $6 million deal, 2.6 guaranteed. So, all in all, about $5 million guaranteed for their running back. And that leaves your space to be able to say, listen, they can draft somebody, whether it be, I think Bijan Robinson is a first round draft pick, so they probably lose out there, but maybe a Jahmyr Gibbs from Alabama. I don't know if Kenny McIntosh, how high or low he is on teams' draft board, depending on if they grab him maybe in the third round or so. But I think they're going to address this is just me. I think they'll address the running back position in the draft. They also signed Braxton Berrios on a 1-year deal, which it's not an impact signing, but shout out to Braxton Berrios. If you're a fan, you got to love the signing. He's back at Hard Rock Stadium. We saw what he was able to do on Saturdays for this team right here, and he was a captain. He put the team on his back week in and week out when he played for the Hurricanes. Unfortunately, his career hasn't been the best. With the Jets, he's been a little shaky, but maybe there's some new energy coming back, down to Miami. I took an Uber. Fun fact. I was driving Uber, and I met a little Tatiana.
Yo.
And yeah, so I met one of those, and she was cute. She was cool. She went to UM. She fit the bill. It was late. I remember this. I picked her up from Sway in Fort Lauderdale, Club Sway in Fort Lauderdale. This was around 2 to 3 in the morning. When I accepted the ride, I remember this day like last night because I remember that my boy Antoine, shout out to Antoine, we just spoke about him and shouted him out at the head of the show. He's going to be performing live again. Go check that performance out if you're in Broward, if you're in Fort Lauderdale or South Florida area. Later this month, AF Original on Instagram. Go follow him on Twitter as well. He's a stand-up comic, and he's funny as shit. He's one of my best friends. And I'm telling you a story about a night that I called him when he was living in New York. He had moved to New York. I'm not sure if you know this or not, but he moved to New York, say, circa 2015. He moved to New York. I then moved to New York for acting classes, right? I was only here for 2.5 months. He stayed here for about 2 years, almost 2 years. So it was around one of those nights that I was doing Uber in 2016 or so. It had to be like 2016. I pick up Shorty, Tatiana, we'll call her. And I'm just being mean, but I pick up Shorty. She was a nice girl. I just got the vibes. You know what I'm saying? I was in a situation. I had a girlfriend. I needed no parts of that. I wanted no parts of that. I'll say that and clarify that air. But she was telling me about, I guess, conversation. All right. I pick up the ride and it says we're going to fucking Kendall. Okay, Kendall. Like 2 in the morning, Kendall. I'm like, please God, why? But I was out making that money, so I didn't say no. Pick her up. We're going to Kendall. Conversation goes, oh, I date this dude. He's in the NFL now. Oh, you might know him. Oh, he played for the Hurricanes. Oh, I'm like, oh, I'm a Hurricanes fan. What's his name? Who? Damn, all right. Braxton Berrios. I'm like, oh shit. Shout to Braxton Berrios. You feel me? So it was a
Fire.
cool little conversation. And I say all that for no reason. I called Ant that night. The reason I brought Ant up is because I had to call him that night because it was late and I was tired. And I'm like, yo, get on the phone with me, talk some shit. Let's catch a
Yeah.
laugh real quick because I got to drive from Kendall to Broward. Now I done dropped Shorty off. I got to drive back to Broward. Like, yo, I'm tired. Like, what's good? What's popping at 3 a.m. in New York right now? Right? You in Brooklyn? What's up? And I just remember that night. It was pretty funny. But shout out to the Dolphins for bringing in the legend Braxton Berrios. Then they bring in a hometown boy as well, Mike White, on a 2-year deal. So
Facts.
they're showing some love right now. They're showing a lot of love. And he's also a New York Jets rival. So I wonder if, obviously, Tua Tagovailoa has his history of injury concern, and they need a valid backup because Skylar Thompson, if they had Mike White in the playoff game versus the Bills, I think they have a really good chance at beating the Bills. Skylar Thompson, is as well as he might have played, wasn't enough. So Mike White getting this 2-year deal is exciting. He's a Broward boy. He went to I think he went to Nova or something like that. He went to one of them schools down there in Broward. So shout out to Mike White. I know we're talking a lot of bullshit about the Dolphins. Let's keep it
Can I
pushing.
actually,
Juju Smith,
really quick?
go
really
ahead, go
quick.
ahead. Yeah.
I don't think Braxton Berrios is actually going to make the Dolphins roster. I mean, where are you going to put him? Special teams, and even at that, you already have. You know what? You're right. Let's just keep going.
Nah, E, I like that though. I like that though, E. That's for next week when we really deep dive into these. You know what I'm saying? Save that one. Juju Smith-Schuster, on the other hand, signs a 3-year deal, $25.5 million, up to $33 million. It's worth up to $33 million after Jacoby Myers leaves in free agency. Obviously, Super Bowl champion Juju Smith-Schuster. I will put the respect on his name. We don't want to call him TikTok boy anymore. He has won a ring and had a solid season. We'll give him the respect. They also re-signed cornerback Jonathan Jones on a 2-year, $20 million deal with 13 guaranteed, and Jabril Peppers re-signed on a 2-year, $9 million deal with up to $11 million in incentives. As EP rumbles, grumbles, and stumbles over there, I like that they re-signed 2 of their key pieces in their defensive backfield. That's two guys who know the Bill Belichick system and the ways. They don't have to re-explain this stuff. So I think, and then James Robinson signed a 2-year deal worth up to $8 million. So they're essentially bolstering up. The Pats. It's on Mac Jones, right? Like, what are we gonna do with this guy? What is something's got to give? Is he gonna be our guy? Have we not put enough around him to help him succeed? We've tried now, and we're gonna continue to try. Can we see something else come into fruition here? Because if not, Matt Jones is gonna be. I don't know that he only not resigns with the Patriots, but who signs Mac Jones if they don't? One of those
That's
type of
facts.
deals.
Yeah, you just don't see the consistency again. That's one of those things that you would see a glimmer of light here and there last year, but overall,
Yep.
disappointing. Like, just disappointing. Can't even think of a lighter word.
Yeah. Another Super Bowl champion though from the Chiefs signed with the Bengals, Orlando Brown. So I do want to put respect. Orlando Brown champion, Orlando Brown.
Yeah, facts.
On a 4-year deal, $64 million. That includes a $31 million signing bonus. So shout out to Orlando Brown getting that cheese.
Yeah.
And then Juan Thornhill agreed to a deal with the Cleveland Browns. So shout out to Super Bowl champion Juan Thornhill on a 3-year deal, $21 million. That includes 14 guaranteed. So getting some cheese there as well. Patrick Peterson, a Broward boy. I will put respect on him. I'm going to always have respect for Patrick Peterson and any Broward boy that enters the league. Signed with the Steelers, 2-year deal, $14 million, getting 5.85 guaranteed. So, I mean, at this point in his career, I'm not sure the value, but in a Mike Tomlin defense, I'm sure you can find something that you can get out of him, and him being able to sign for $6 million damn near. You got to give credit there.
Got to.
Um, the Colts today came to terms with Gardner Minshew. So, I mean, it's a good signing. Shane Steichen being our head coach, coming from the Eagles system, being with Gardner Minshew for 2 years. You got to understand that we're going to draft a quarterback here with the number 4 pick. If we don't trade up to number 3 or 2, we'll draft a quarterback regardless. And I'm excited for Gardner Minshew to be a backup. He knows the system, and familiarity is always going to be one of the best things in football. We also re-signed EJ Speed on a 2-year deal. We re-signed Tyquan Lewis, and then we made a 3-year deal with Samson and Bukim on a $27 million deal, $11 million guaranteed, and signed Taven Bryan to a 1-year deal. So we got that pass rush. We got some pass rush there, and we also gave Matt Gay the highest contract a kicker has ever gotten, 4-year, $22.5 million. So,
Sheesh.
but you know that I've come on this podcast, this very podcast. If you guys go back to All Things Sports Podcast YouTube and look at the episode, I think it's titled "Kickers Can Lose You Games" or something like that. It has to do with kickers in the title. Rodrigo Blankenship, goggles over there. Week 1, we had a tie on our record, and week 1 we had a chance to hit a game-winning field goal, and he shit the bed. So, and there was a few other times that the Colts lost based on missed field goals toward the end of the game. So I do like the signing, even though it was a lot of money. I think it's something a kicker is definitely one of the more valuable assets on your team.
No, absolutely.
To move forward, we got some key signings. You guys, Chiefs, you guys signed Charles Omeniu. Omeniu. I think it's Omeniu, something like that. 2-year deal, worth up to $20 million. And Jawan Taylor, which was the big signing you guys had, a 4-year, $80 million, $60 million guaranteed on that offensive line there. So it's going to be interesting to see. Hopefully he has a good season. What do you got to say about that?
No, I was gonna say I think the biggest thing, I love those signings. But the restructure of Patrick Mahomes' deal to free up that cap space, huge. I don't know what we're using it for. I wish I did. I tried to call Andy Reid. He didn't answer the phone today. I'm sorry.
He didn't.
I
thought ATS Pod had some pool, bro.
But that's I mean, to free up 10 million, that's a solid 1-year deal for another like number 2, number 3 receiver that is just will just highlight Kelsey and highlight all the wide receiving core that we already have. So I'm excited to see what we do with that. I can say I don't think I've ever seen the Chiefs be honestly this aggressive in free agency, to be honest.
Well, you got to imagine you guys lost, a couple pieces there. Thornhill,
Frank Clark,
Orlando Brown, Frank Clark. You have some money, and now you have some extra money. It was a good thing to see Patrick Mahomes be unselfish for the team and understand that $1 billion contract isn't necessarily necessary. I'm just fucking with you. But if anybody's a team guy, you got to imagine Patrick Mahomes is a team guy. I'm excited for the Raiders. Excited is a weird word, but I'm excited to see what a Jimmy G, Josh McDaniels reunion is going to do. I mean, they have the best receiver in the game in Devontae Adams. And look, you can argue Tyreek Hill. You can argue Justin Jefferson. You can argue your favorite wide receiver. I don't care who you say. I'm going to argue Devontae Adams as pound for pound the best wide receiver in the league, with hands, route running, and some speed, right? So 3-year, $72 million deal with 24.25 guaranteed in year 1.
Yo, that's my Jimmy G smile.
Hey, what are we going to call him? I mean, he was porn star Jimmy at one point. He's Jimmy G to a lot of people. I mean, he's in Vegas now. What are we going to call him? All in Jimmy? What's his name?
Oh, man. Like, I think we'll know that by like week 2 or 3. We'll know what his nickname is going to be. It's going to be
Jimmy G.
It's going to be fun to see him in the black and silver.
You remember the G Pen? Yo, that's a classic.
Yo, facts.
Damn, you remember the G Pen? Snoop Dogg and Burner and Wiz was smoking the G Pen.
Oh man.
OD. But they also signed Philip Dorsett and Jacoby Myers to some deals. So they try to get some help over there in the wide receiving core. And then they also took Marcus Epps from the Philadelphia Eagles on a 2-year, $12 million deal. Um, Cowboys obviously tagged Tony Pollard,
Yes, sir.
released Zeke Elliott,
Ooh, about time, man.
who has regressed and regressed as his career has gone on. Leighton Vander Esch signed on a 2-year, $11 million deal, and they acquired Stephon Gilmore from the Colts, which I'm not too happy about, but at the same time, I understand Stephon Gilmore's at a point in his career where he wants to make an impact for a winning team. Not to say the Cowboys are a Super Bowl team, but they're a winning team, and they have a chance at winning their division and having some playoff success. I'll give them that. But they traded a 5th-round pick to the Colts for Stephon Gilmore, who, I mean, we saw Stephon Gilmore play some really, really big moments in the season. He won about 2 games on the defensive side of the ball with deflections. He beat the Chiefs at the end of the game with the tip pass that led into a pick, and then he beat the Broncos on a swat in the end zone that led to an incomplete pass, and we won the game. So shout out to Stephon Gilmore. I wish him nothing but the best, and I hope he can go help a team. It's the Cowboys, so it's not you, Steph. It's Dallas. So I don't know how far that's gonna go, but I do wish you the success you deserve. Playing alongside Trevon Diggs, that's got to be
No, absolutely.
exciting as a veteran playing with a young corner who's ball thirsty. Pause. And knowing that if teams are not going to attack him, they'll try to attack you. And I mean, that's just more opportunity to put more food on your family's plates. So shout out to them. They also re-signed Donovan Wilson, their safety, 3-year deal, $24 million, 13 and a half guaranteed.
It's gonna be interesting to see how this.
Obviously,
My fault. It's gonna be interesting to see how this Tony
no.
Pollard situation develops. Him coming off of the injury, and then getting franchise tagged. Zeke finally, sorry to say it, finally out of there. His regression, his decline has just been slope, rise over run, bro. And he's not rising. I can tell you that. You know what I mean? First 3 years in the league, first in yards per game, then dropped to I think 5th his 4th year. Then dropped to 17th, and then 24th, and then 27th last year. It's to be who you are, where you were drafted, all the hype coming out of Ohio State, the whole feed me. They fed you, and he hadn't had. I read a statistic that said he hasn't had a touchdown outside of the red zone since 2019.
Damn.
Yeah.
And we knew him coming out of college for those breakaway runs, and even his first 2 years in the league, getting out of that box and hitting it. It has been regression. We can't deny that. But that's kind of the lifespan of running backs.
That's true. He's
That's
coming up
just
on
how
year
it
9
goes.
now, so yeah, that's facts.
And 9, like we're not talking 5, 6, 9. So shout out to Zeke for being, the player he's been, and the team player he's been. I'll say that because this year he could have easily, these last 2 years, he could have easily been the guy who was a diva in the locker room, who wanted more touches, who thought he deserved more. They were on Hard Knocks not even too long. I think in 2021 they're on Hard Knocks, and he was looking like he was having fun, right? So shout out to Zeke. He's a team guy. He's a good guy, and he's a good football player. But at the same time, year 9 as a running back, I'm not going to expect that you're going to ball out, right? So it's kind of what comes with that. But let's move on to another NFC East team, a rival who agreed to a 4-year, $160 million deal. Daniel Jones didn't do a lot to prove that he's worth that.
Hey, Lamar still got
He
a
did
contract.
some. He did some, and he took the Giants to the playoffs. Let's not understate that, right? He deserves a lot of credit. But 4 years, $160 million in a market where Lamar Jackson is available is questionable, and I think Brian Dable is confident that he's the guy. Maybe he saw enough where he was like, listen, first of all, I used to coach Josh Allen, right? I used to be one of Josh Allen's coaches, and I know we can get similar play out of him, this, that, and the third. Whatever the case was that Brian Dable stepped up for Daniel Jones, I'm sure he was one of the louder voices in the room for this deal to get done, because if your head coach is not on board, your quarterback don't get paid like this.
Yeah.
So that tells me Coach Dable was like, listen, we're going to tag Barkley. We're going to re-sign Jones. We'll make a Paris Campbell signing for 1 year, $4.7 million. We'll re-sign Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton. I mean, these are the same guys they've had in the locker room. But guess what? We're going to help them out, and we're going to trade a third-round pick for Darren Waller, who's arguably a top 5 tight end in this league, and who we thought, Jimmy G, that was going to be his security blanket. We saw that there was some rift between Coach McDaniel and Darren Waller and WNBA star Kelsey Plum.
Hey, though.
Where shout out to Waller and Plum, the Wallers. Now they're married. So, kudos to them. But that wasn't supposed to be public information. That was made public by Coach McDaniel. And when you kind of do things to ruin a relationship, it can get bad. It can get bad. Nasty work is the term. Nasty work. And we saw nasty work. And now Darren Waller, the Giants are like, bet. We love nasty work.
Hey, you could tell that last year the theme for the Giants, it was chemistry. And that's probably what had Dayball saying, hey, pay that boy. Like, I get it. There's there's things that we can go get right now, but the chemistry that we have right now is it has no value in a sense that you can't put a price on it.
It's priceless. It's priceless. Yeah, it's priceless. I get you.
So and just keeping that chemistry is what's gonna keep winning.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Nunez Roaches, was he a Chief?
No.
Okay. Where did Nunez Roaches play? Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Okay. Yeah. Okay, makes sense. All right. So they signed Nunez Roaches. They also signed former Colts linebacker Bobby Okereke. So that's a good signing for them, and I'm excited for him and his future. The Eagles, they got a couple of veterans back. Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox on the defensive line agreed to 1-year deals. Brandon Graham's worth up to $6 million. Fletcher Cox is up to $10 million. And Jason Kelsey on the offensive line said, fuck it, I'm not done. We're going to run this back on the offensive line. So he signed a 1-year deal, $14.25 million. Boston Scott was re-signed, and then they also signed Rashad Penny from Seattle on a 1-year, $1.35 million deal, which is a very low risk, high reward deal, if you ask me, because to me, Penny, when healthy, I mean, this guy can run through a lot of tackles and get some dirty work done. He just doesn't really find the ability to stay healthy all the time. So you run into those issues. But the most important thing for the Eagles this year, they weren't able to keep TJ Edwards as a linebacker. They lost out on – there was one more guy that they lost out on, but they were able to re-sign James Bradbury, 3-year, $38 million deal, $20 million guaranteed, and Darius Slay, who they thought – there were some trade rumors out there, right? There was some – Matt Patricia signed with the Eagles, and Matt Patricia and Darius Slay have a rough history going back to the Detroit days, where Matt Patricia said some words about Darius Slay, where Darius Slay, quote-unquote, said, I lost respect for him. So there was rift there where I'm like, yo, the Eagles might trade him, and then the Eagles are looking for Eagles are looking for suitors and shit. I don't know what happened within a day and a half or so, but Darius Slay agreed to a 2-year, $42 million deal, $23 million guaranteed. So shout out to the Eagles for being able to come to terms with him, and shout out to Darius Slay for understanding that alongside James Bradbury, you guys are one of the more dangerous cornerback tandems in the league. Jacoby Brissett signs with the Washington Redskins. I want to run through this now. I don't want to take too much time here.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Did I say that?
Hey, man, we live now. There's no, go back and edit this later, bro.
Hey, listen, I found this interesting. Jesse Bates signed 4-year deal, $64 million, $23 million in year one with the Falcons. So the Falcons are trying to build something. That shows me because they're trying to sign a premier safety in this league. They also signed Taylor Heineke to a 2-year deal worth up to $20 million. An interesting deal that they signed or that they traded for was with the New England Patriots. They traded a 7th round pick for Jonnu Smith, tight end, who the Patriots signed last year. Um, I mean, they drafted Kyle Pitts number 4 overall. So it's just a little interesting to me that they trade for another tight end. I'm not sure if they want to run these 2 tight end sets or what the case is. However, there's another tight end in town. Take that for what you will. Andy Dalton and Miles Sanders and Hayden Hurst all signed with the Panthers. Obviously, Derek Carr signs with the Saints. Jameis Winston re-signed on a 1-year deal worth up to $4 million with the Saints. Jamal Williams and Michael Thomas also signed. Baker Mayfield's going to be the new quarterback over there in Tampa Bay.
Back
Sam
to the
Darnold's
NFC South.
Hear this though. Sam Darnold signs in San Francisco. You got Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, and now Sam Darnold. And I'm not sure if this is a case of Kyle Shanahan just grabbing his balls and saying, listen, I make anybody look good. All right. You know how to throw a football? Did you go to a Power 5 college? All right. Former number 3 pick overall? Yeah. Welcome to death row type of thing. I'm not sure. And hey, if we do see Sam Darnold touch that field for San Francisco and have some success, I mean, yeah, we got to look into the studies on Kyle Shanahan and what the fuck's going on with his brain, because how does he do it? Looks like everybody can ball out in San Francisco.
Very nonchalantly.
Yes, sir. We'll leave that up to the season, but that kind of ends things there in the NFL as far as free agency and trades and things of that nature. I wanted to close out here with the World Baseball Classic, bro. I wanted to touch on the World Baseball Classic. Obviously, it was Puerto Rico versus Dominican Republic last night. New York City was in shambles. If you go on New York Twitter, man, if you was a Puerto Rican or a Dominican, you felt it either way. I'm both. So, I mean, I just laugh at the jokes because at the end of the day, listen, it wasn't no L. I ain't take no L's, right? But I will say this. We came on here last week and we were hyping up that Dominican Republic roster and we were bigging them up. And I think everybody in the country was expecting big things out of them. And they came out flat all World Baseball Classic, and now they're sitting at home.
Diablo.
Shout out to the Presidente Light, though.
You know what I'm saying? But Medaya won, you heard? What you mean?
Medaya did win. Medaya did win. Medaya did. Pegao won. You know what I'm saying? But shout out to all my Puerto Ricans, shout out to all my Dominicans, and shout out to all the people that went to the game out there in Miami and supported their countries. And a big shout out to Team Venezuela, who's been balling this World Baseball Classic, right? Do you have the bracket up? I don't have it. Unfortunately, I did have it in the notes. Phone is in use. And the picture didn't update. I wanted to go over that quarterfinal, if you can.
Quarterfinals. Quarterfinals start when? This weekend, right?
Yeah.
Mexico, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, U.S. Cuba and their opponent is still to be decided. And we got Puerto Rico, Mexico, United States, Venezuela. That's tomorrow. Yeah. So, wow. Yeah.
Bro, you just went. This man just said the same thing. He's like, yo, Mexico, Puerto Rico, USA,
right
Venezuela. We're gonna see the rest. We got Venezuela, US, and Puerto Rico versus Mexico.
And I went back to the same joint.
We got it. I mean, we could talk about those two games right there. If you ask me, those are four of the best teams in this tournament right now. Obviously, Japan has been playing pretty well. But Mexico embarrassed the United States last week, and I'm excited to see Puerto Rico put. So, backtrack real quick. Yesterday, I was at the barbershop. Not
Wow.
sure if y'all noticed. I was at the barber. Shout out to my barber Lorvy. You know what I'm saying? His name is Lorvy. He Dominican as hell. Lorvy. Out there on the cab, in Brooklyn, off the E train. What I will say is we was talking about the game. He's like, "Yo, who you go for?" I'm like, "Well, I'm torn. My mother's Puerto Rican, my father's Dominican. I just want to see a good game from both teams. I'll be happy whoever wins. I wish the best for both. Um, but I will say, this is what I told him. I said, I will say, I think Puerto Rico has been the better team so far in this tournament. I think Dominican Republic's been pretty underwhelming, is giving the roster they have and the talent they have on that team. Not to say Puerto Rico doesn't have as much talent, but if we're being honest, that Dominican Republic team, man, that's an MLB team right there, right?
It is. It is absolutely.
So I was just saying, listen, Dominican Republic has a better team. They do. But I think Puerto Rico is playing better and they play better together. And I think we'll see that tonight. So my gut is telling me Puerto Rico probably wins this game. They ended up winning. I'm not saying this to say, oh, I was right or wrong. I say this to say versus Mexico, I think Puerto Rico brings it again because Mexico came out versus United States and they was like, listen, Mike Trout, Mookie Betts, Kyle Schwarber, Tim Anderson.
Yeah.
I mean, y'all seen the lineup.
You know it is.
Will Smith. And they embarrassed him. Will Smith left Randy Arozarena hanging at the plate for no reason. They were teammates back in the day. He left him hanging. And hey, karma's a bitch, dog. All I'm going to say this, though. All I'm going to say is, no disrespect. I know wifey, she got roots over there. Listen, Mexican food is some of my I might like Mexican food more than Puerto Rican food. Don't tell my mom I ever said that. Don't tell her.
Crazy.
But I ain't never liked Mexican baseball or Mexican boxing more than I like Puerto Rican baseball or Puerto Rican boxing. Let's set the motherfucking record straight. All right?
I heard you.
So, with that being said, I do have Puerto Rico getting up in that ass.
I will say it's gonna be a good game. I'm gonna predict it's gonna be a close game. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it's gonna be a low scoring game as well.
Sound like you're gonna tell me Mexico's gonna win.
I don't want to say Mexico, but
you have.
I don't want to say Mexico, but I can't bet against Julio Urias, bro. He's one of those pitchers, bro. Like when it's all said and done,
he is.
He's
a World Series pitcher.
He's him
for sure.
Like
for sure.
That motherfucker, like that sound that says that motherfucker don't miss. That motherfucker does not miss.
Now guess what? Julio Urias is not going to be able to go 7 innings. It's the World Baseball Classic. It ain't the MLB, you know.
That's fair.
Marcus Stroman has pitched well. He's pitched well. He's not going to be there in the 5th inning. You know what I mean? So it's going to be a matter of depth. And when it comes to depth, I think Puerto Rico has more players and pitchers and depth than Mexico.
Say that.
So I know you have to show your respect to your
no, papi, tú sabes que yo soy puertorriqueño, you know?
I'm just saying, my boy. I'm just saying, you sounding like a motherfucking.
Hey, I'm a big fan
because that's crazy.
I'm a big fan of Julio Urias, man.
I'm glad I didn't say it.
I enjoy watching him pitch. That's what I would say.
Nah, I do too. And I think he's gonna do great things for the Dodgers this year. I truly do. And like he has in years past. Like I said, he's a World Series winning pitcher. And he's pitched in big moments and has had big moments in those moments. So I'll give the credit where it's due. Julio Urias, he might have a great 3-inning stretch. Cool. But guess what? This is a 9-inning game. It's a 9-inning game.
Heard that.
I think we can end the regular part of the podcast right there, and we'll jump into EP's EPL segment right now. So
Hey,
this is
really
EP's
quick, I'm gonna
EPL
jump back
segment. Go
for
ahead.
a second. The Pacers just beat the Bucks and they scored like 84 points in the second half. That's crazy. Outscored the Bucks like 84-57 with like 2 minutes left
I
in
was
the game.
wondering what was gonna go on with that game.
Yeah,
you know what's funny? I was thinking, I'm like, what's the spread on that game? Because I feel like the
it's a
Pacers
good
might
question.
cover, but then again, I'm not sure if they do. I'm not. It's the Bucks, you
It was
know. But
close
did
in the
Giannis
third
play tonight?
quarter. Yeah, bro, it was close in the third quarter and all that.
And
And
the
then
Kings beat the Nets 101-96. Look at that.
sheesh,
For
sheesh.
perspective, it is 10:30 on the East Coast. Raptors
Thursday the
beat the
16th.
Thunder. Damn, shout out to Gio. His parlay, I hope it hit. I mean, he hasn't texted me, so it probably didn't. And before we move on to the EP's EPL segment, um, Houston, the number one seed, is only up 3 at half. So
Ooh.
something to look at and keep
Damn,
an
I
eye
thought
on.
Purdue was gonna be the first number one seed out of there.
Also, on the free agent tip, Deontay Foreman and Robert Tunyon are joining the Bears. I mean, we didn't get into the winners and losers. I did want to get into that. I'm sorry. I know sometimes I get a little sidetracked. But the Bears were my winner of free agency, being as though they did trade back from 1 to 9, got a bunch of draft capitals, 2 2s, 2 1s,
DJ Moore.
and still have position, and DJ Moore, and have position to get a premier player. And these free agent signings, they got TJ Edwards, they signed another linebacker, they got Robert Tunyon, they signed Javon Hargrave. So I got the Bears as winners. Don't need to hear yours. I want to hear EP's EPL update. Can you give me some?
Couple things. Big shout out to Erling Haaland. I always butcher his name. I'm sorry. He became the
Halan. My man is.
youngest and fastest player to score 30 goals in the Champions League after he scored 5 against RB Leipzig. And I woke up that morning. I sent the group chat. I said, "Hey, y'all boys, take the over." That boy cashed the over twice almost. Man, fuck you talking about? So, but shout out to that boy. He's doing great things for Man City, who is in number 2 in the EPL table right now. But really quick, before I get to EPL Champs League, Chelsea and Manchester City are the only teams from England that are in Champions League still. And Chelsea's only playing for Champions League because they're at 10th in the table in EPL. So they're just fighting to stay alive in the top 10. Um, and, Champions League, a Champions League trophy would be great for them. Arsenal eliminated today in Europa League versus Sporting FC. That was wild. Everyone had Arsenal winning. I took the over. I almost had Arsenal winning, but I only took the over, and it was still 1-1 and went into penalties. They lost 5-3 in penalties today. Tottenham eliminated in Champions League. They're sitting in 4th place, 2 points behind Man United. Sorry, and Man
Right.
U's in very good form right now. That top 4 in EPL is rounding out to be very serious. And Liverpool that was slumping at the beginning of the season has hit a stride, and
Is
they
that
are
LeBron? Is that LeBron's Liverpool?
that is LeBron's Liverpool. They have hit this
Okay.
stride, and they're up to 6th in the EPL table. Um, Fighting to at least get Europa, but I think they're gonna make a run for the top 4. The crazy thing, there's a lot of good games. I'm not gonna get into the games this weekend, but definitely catch EPL. Places 13 through 20 in the EPL table right now are all 5 points apart.
Wow.
Yeah, 18, 19, 20 get relegated to English League Championship, which is like the G League,
Right.
in England. And literally, there's 7 teams that could possibly get relegated. So, any of those 7 teams, I would not recommend to bet against this weekend. That's what I'll say because the dogs will be barking. That's my EPL
Yes,
take this week.
sir. We appreciate you and your EPL take, man. You know how that goes. I do want to say this real quick before we get out of here. Closing thoughts: the Warriors in the NBA. Listen, one of the best home teams, one of, if not the worst road team. They had a good week so far. They beat the Bucks at home on Saturday. They beat the Suns at home. I think it was Monday or Tuesday, but they lost to the Clippers last night.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no Giannis in the Bucks game. There was no KD in the Suns game, obviously. And then they go on the road and they just can't win on the road. And now I'll say this. At 6 in the West, I'm not too concerned or overly concerned as far as like them. They're not going to drop into the play-in. I don't think they drop into the play-in. And they're still going to be a scary team to face that nobody wants to face in a first round matchup. If you're going to have home court advantage versus the Warriors, you still don't want to see them. But unfortunately, Andrew Wiggins is going through a rough situation, it seems. We can't put a word on it. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to speculate on what it is. Supposedly it's a family matter, but he might miss the rest of the season, and that's what reports are saying. So if he does, I mean, Andrew Wiggins was a key contributor as far as their playoff success, as far as their defense with the wing. Um, so going forward, looking into the playoffs with only 12 games left in the season, no Andrew Wiggins. I don't think we're going to see a back-to-back defending champ, this year. So that's one interesting tidbit. And then as far as like the Kings thing, the Kings keep on winning, and I'm off of that train I was on the other week and in the last few weeks. Like the Kings are for real. Clearly they are. Clearly they are. And they do watch the All Things Sports podcast. It might be the 12th man on their roster that watches. Somebody's watching. It might be an assistant coach, an assistant to the assistant coach, right?
Assistant to
Right.
regional manager.
Whoever it is relaying my information over there, and they're playing their asses off. So shout out. And De'Aaron Fox, mind you, just hit a game winner. I think it was last night.
Let's go.
Man, it's cold as ice. I love to see the fact that him and Julius Randle are balling out at this point of their careers. But look, there's former Kentucky guys is why I was saying that. But I'll leave us with this. Y'all see my background right here? Those are the ACC champions right there. Duke Blue Devils. John Shire's first year as a head coach. Jeremy Roach right there on the left. Kyle Flipowski, one of our key factors, all tournament. He's going to average a double-double when it's all said and done. And EP called it. He called it. I'm talking in the future. Mind you, the guy in the middle there, I don't know his name, but he looks like JaVale McGee's little brother. But what I will say is that EP called there's going to be a Final Four run. And whether we win or lose, if this team makes the Final Four, shout the fuck out to John Shire and the Duke Blue Devils for getting where they have with the team they have and the slump they were in early in the season, being able to overcome that. I love to see what's next for Duke and for the next 15 years with this new head coach. Can we clap it up, make some noise for John Shire, getting his first NCAA tournament win in his first season as a Duke Blue Devils head coach. I know Mike Krzyzewski is smiling with his wife right now. Who knows what they're doing or what they're up to. They're probably asleep at this time, but while they were watching the game, who knows what they were up to. EP, I'm back. Shout out to you, bro. I appreciate you. Yeah. Whoever tuned in, whoever's listening right now, we appreciate you as well. Facts. Next week, catch us here Thursday, same spot around 8:30. You already know the vibes. I'm not sure if you have any final thoughts, EP.
Prayers up to Lonzo Ball, man. Situation sticky. I definitely hope you recover and make a full recovery and get back to doing, what the talent that God gave you to do, man. That's a sticky situation. We'll get more into that next week, though.
I'll say this. I hate to end the podcast, or what I don't hate to do it because I never do it. I never end the podcast on a negative note. So what I will do is switch the topic here. I'm super excited for the Boston Red Sox this season. I don't know how it's going to go. We got Corey Kluber on the mound opening day. It's got to go well opening day, at least when you got Corey Kluber on your mound, right? That's your ace. And Chris Sale is going to be somewhere down the line behind that. I don't know or care when he returns. I'll say that as a fan. I don't care because I'm not concerned with his injuries anymore. I'm sick and tired and over it. We also did win a World Series with him. So guess what? He's done his due, and I love and respect him for that. However, I'm excited. Baseball is about to start. Yankee Stadium is about to open up. Mets fan day is 3/25, so they're going to be giving out like shit around the city. They're going to do like pop-ups here and there. So I'm going to try to do a little scavenger hunt, see what I can find in the Mets. I want to go to Citi Field for the first time this year. The Red Sox don't come to Citi Field, so I won't be able to see my Red Sox play there. I'll definitely go check out, maybe an interleague, one of those divisional matchups, whether it's that NL East, ain't really too. The Braves. Maybe I'll go see Ronald Acuna.
I like that.
Maybe I'll do that and put a little A on my hat. No, I got to put the Mets hat on. I ain't lying. But shout out to you, bro. I appreciate you, man. It's been fun. This is probably one of the longest live streams.
Follow, subscribe.
That.
Send Cash App,
You see it. Yeah, you see it. You see it. All that. All that.
We looking for sponsors. What's up? Facts. Email us questions. Do all that.
Email us. Let us know. Sponsorship deals is going crazy right now. Get at us before they not.
So, yesterday's price. We out.